You're listening to the Online DJ podcast, where today we're talking to Tony Winyard about pricing. Alright, ladies and gents, welcome to another episode of the Online DJ podcast. Now today we're going to talk about a highly debated topic in the DJ industry, and that is pricing. Now if you go on most DJ forums in the industry, you're going to see a pricing thread, and people are going to be arguing topics like, I can't get paid that much in my area, why are you charging this much, why aren't you charging this much, topics about 60 Quid Sid. So for this episode, we thought we'd get Tony Winyard on with us. Now, Tony Winyard over the years has managed to increase his prices quite considerably and has a lot of expertise and advice to give on this industry. So, Tony, firstly, welcome to the Online DJ podcast. Before we get started on our main topic of pricing, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and a little bit about your background?
Hi Dan, thank you. It's an honour to be here. My background, okay, I've been DJing a long time. I started off as I've been a professional DJ virtually all of my working life. I was a mobile DJ for a few years. I was doing like reggae sound systems, which will be, most people I guess probably won't be familiar with that, but that's kind of how I started. But all the time I was trying to get into, being a club DJ. Managed to do that. I was working in various clubs around Soho and the West End, but I really wanted to work abroad, and I got that break and I managed to get out, and I was working in clubs around various countries in Europe and the Middle East. But what I really wanted to do was work in the Far East, and I got that break eventually in my early 20s. And then once I was out there, I stayed there for years, and I had the time of my life working in clubs in Hong Kong and Japan and Indonesia and many places. And when I was out there, I ran my own club for a while. I was working on radio, quite a big station, various stations in Norway, Hong Kong, Indonesia. And I got to interview loads of like mega famous stars, which was, it was great fun. I then came back to the UK, kind of got fed up of club DJing, and ended up going back into mobile DJing. And started to really enjoy DJing again. And now for the last 7 years, I guess, I've been just concentrating on weddings. So I still do the occasional corporate event here and there, but 95% of what I do is weddings. And I'm also, as well as being a DJ, I'm also a master of ceremonies as well.
So Tony, at the start of the show, I mentioned that pricing threads across social media and stuff was one of the most argued about topics there is. Why do you think this has become the case? I mean, especially in the last couple of years in particular, people have started arguing about price a lot more, and I'd love to know why you think this is.
Yeah, price is a hotly debated topic on DJ forums. Why is that so? The forums, the Facebook groups just make it a lot easier for DJs to communicate. There's definitely an element of jealousy when people are criticising others for and this whole kind of price thing, which seems a bit strange. There's so many things that DJs could be talking about. And well, to be fair, there are there are discussions and debates about all kinds of things. It's not just price, but price is the one that seems to arouse the emotions the most and seems to get a lot of people quite angry.
So, Tony, while we're on the topic of sort of pricing threads, one of the common phrases I see brought up time and time again is, I can't get that much in my area. Now, what do you make of this statement?
Yeah, that statement, you can't get that in my area, that's a funny one, that. It makes me laugh when I read that, because very often the people writing that, when I've done events all around the UK and in many other places, and I've seen people in different areas, right? Oh, you can't get more than 200, 300, 500, 70, whatever the figure is, you can't get more than that in my area. And I've done events in those same areas charging far more than whatever price it is they say. And I'm nothing special. There's many other DJs who are charging just as much as I am. It's just a lot of DJs impose a glass ceiling upon themselves and they don't realize that. And they certainly could be charging a lot more than they are. And it's just about confidence. So, and how do we overcome it? It's, confidence is probably the main thing that we need to overcome. We need to, rather than trying to drag each other down when it comes to things like pricing, we should all be trying to help each other up. Because the more people that increase their prices, the better it is for everyone eventually, although some people don't realize that. So rather than trying to say it's outrageous what some people are charging, they should be applauding when they find out someone is charging a much higher amount than they are, and that should give them something to aspire to.
So on doing research for this show, I found that you did incredibly well when it came to increasing your prices quite considerably. So could you give us some advice on how you went about doing this, or maybe some tips?
So how have I increased my prices? My prices have increased quite a bit in the last few years. And that's due to a number of factors. I'm offering far more than I used to. I mentioned about that as well as being a DJ, I'm also a master of ceremonies. And I do I'm constantly doing things to further myself, to whether that be courses on, and all sorts of different things. Performance related. I go to Toastmasters International on a regular basis, and that's got nothing to do with the guys in the red coats. Toastmasters is a public speaking club. And because obviously as a master of ceremonies, I need to speak quite a bit. So I go there and I'm regularly delivering speeches and doing impromptu speaking, to improve my speaking. And actually, the thing about Toastmasters, most people go along to improve with the intention of improving their speaking. And it's not till you've been there a while you realise, wow, it's not just your speaking that's improved, it's your whole communication. And communication comes in so many forms. It's your speaking, it's your gestures, your facial expressions, how you're using your hands, and even things like how you're listening. And listening is so important when we have client meetings, because you need to really listen to your potential clients to really understand what it is they want. And then you can suggest some of the different services that you offer to achieve whatever it is they're looking for. And I think a lot of DJs don't really listen. They just talk about themselves and don't really seek to understand what it is the client's looking for. And there's many other, I said about various performance areas. So as well as doing the public speaking training, I've done a couple of comedy courses, stand-up comedy courses, and I've then gone out and done gigs in lots of different comedy clubs. I do improvisation comedy. I do some courses on that sometimes. I've even done on things like acting and various other performance related. But then I also do courses in other areas like social media and various different business areas to improve my, so I can run my business in a better way, I guess. And so it's a combination of all these different factors that's enabled me to increase my price substantially. I mean, I'm now charging about 7 times what I was, say, in the early part, in like early 2000s. I'm getting a lot more than I was then.
Another statement I see in the forums and stuff online, Tony, is 60 Quid Sid is a threat to our industry. Now, what do you think about that?
Do I feel 60 Quid Sid is a threat? No, of course not. Why would I? I've been DJing so long, there's no way someone who's just started the kind of people that are booking me are very unlikely to going to book someone who's just started. So that's why I don't perceive anyone who's just started as any kind of threat to me. And I don't feel any DJ who's been doing this even if you've been doing it just a year or two, why should someone who just started be a threat to you? Because they're not going to have your knowledge levels, your experience. So how could they be a threat? Doesn't make sense to me when I hear that. And from their point of view, from the guys who are charging that money, well, everyone has to start somewhere. If you decided you want to be a DJ and you want to start trying to find some work, well, you have to start kind of near the bottom unless you've got an amazing level of confidence. You have to start near the bottom, charging whatever amount you feel you can get. And if it's probably not £60 in reality, but whatever that figure is, fair play. And then eventually, as you start getting more and more gigs, you get better, you start getting more experience, you're doing a better job, and then you get more confidence, and then your prices can keep going up.
So another question I have, because you mentioned confidence earlier, do you feel that if DJs felt more confident about themselves and their services, that they'd feel a lot better about charging more and would essentially charge more for their services?
So do I feel if they had more confidence they could charge more? Cool, absolutely. And confidence is the biggest thing that's holding most DJs down. Because I think deep down inside, a lot of the guys that are complaining about other DJs charging too much, in reality, of course, they would love to be charging more. And the reason they're not charging more is because of confidence. And there's various ways that that DJs can increase their confidence and increase their earnings. Taking courses, reading books. There's a great audio file, like an MP3 file, called Getting What You're Worth. It's done by a guy called Mark Farrell. It was recorded a few years ago, but it's still, absolutely valid to this day. It's still relevant to this day. You can find it on his website, which I believe is markfarrell.com. Farrell spelled Ferrell. And it's gold. There's so much gold on there. I listen to it on a regular basis. I probably listen to it at least 40 times. And I would suggest guys listen to that, or, any DJs listening to this, play that on a regular basis. Don't just listen to it once. You won't be able to take in all the information. There's a lot of information on there. It's about, 3 or 4 hours or something. And he really breaks it down into 4 different areas. It's believing what you're worth, getting what you're worth, being what you're worth, and there's another one as well. I forget what the other section is. It's definitely worth listening to if you want to start increasing your prices. But it's not just about increasing your prices. You obviously need to be offering more as well to be able to justify a higher price. So it's not just simply about offering a higher price. It's really caring for the people you're working for and trying to do as good a job as you possibly can, and over delivering as much as you possibly can to justify charging a higher price.
Another thing I want to know, Tony, is your opinion on mentally putting yourself in the shoes of a client. I mean, do you think that would help you sort of understand what they want or understand how to price your services?
What do I feel about mentally putting yourself in clients' shoes when it comes to pricing? Yeah, I can understand why, in some ways, why you'd want to do that, but in other ways, no. You want to have empathy with people, but that doesn't mean that you should be reducing your prices just because someone can't afford you. If I don't feel I can afford an Aston Martin, I'm not going to go and shop for one. So if someone's coming to you and not able to afford your prices, well, you shouldn't be putting your prices down. They should be looking for a cheaper DJ in the first place. So maybe I misunderstood the question, but no, I don't think you should be changing your price. Your price is your price. You should have a business plan. You should be knowing what you need to make a living, to make a decent business. And so whatever those prices are, they're your prices. And so you shouldn't be adjusting them because the person you're speaking to can't afford it.
That was just what we were looking for there, Tony. Before we wrap up the show, I'm just wondering, have you got any tips or advice before we leave that you feel DJs should know about pricing?
Other advice for getting what you're worth. I mentioned before about listening to the file or the tape or the MP3 file, Getting What You're Worth by Mark Farrell. And there's a book. There's a couple of other books that would well be worth reading. One is Influence by Robert Cialdini. Cialdini is Cialdini. You can find it as a physical book and also as an audio book on audible.co.uk. It's an excellent book. It really gets into how we are influenced and how we can use influence. It's not talking about shady ways to try and con people, but it's talking about how you can really convey what it is that, you know, you feel that you're worth, and how to be more influential when you know, to come across confidently when you're speaking with people. And the other book is called Selling the Invisible by Harry Beckwith or Beckworth, I can't remember. But yeah, if you just Google Selling the Invisible, and it's all about selling services, which is, you know, what we all do. It's an intangible service. So selling a product is easy. Selling a commodity is easy. You know, if you're selling books or cars, or, you know, you've got a physical product. But we're an intangible, you know, what we do is a service. It's very different, and we're all so different. So, you know, a guy who's only been DJing a couple of years is going to be a very different price to someone who's extremely experienced and has done all sorts of different things in DJing. So it's a great book to get you to help you understand how to sell a service. That's Selling the Invisible.
And if DJs wanted to find out more about you, maybe get some advice for you or have a chat to you, where can they find more information about you, and how can they get in touch with you, things like that?
If DJs want to find out more about me or you know, get some advice from me or whatever, feel free to contact me at any time. You can go onto my website, which is awe-dj.co.uk. AWE stands for Anthony Winyard Entertainment, which is my business name. So awe-dj.co.uk. Look at my blog. I've got lots of articles in there. I write for Pro Mobile. I've written loads of articles for Pro Mobile magazine. Some of those articles are on my blog. I've been meaning to put all of them on there, and I will eventually get round to that. I've also written lots of articles for various wedding magazines. I've had lots of magazines ask me to write for them on music, on entertainment, on speeches, and all sorts of different areas. So I've got some of those articles. Or if you just want to, if you've got a question I might be able to help with, you know, whether that be about pricing or entertainment or master of ceremonies, whatever it might be. If you think I can help, then please, fire me the question.
Now, lastly, Tony, before we let you go, we ask all our guests that come on the show probably the hardest question you can ask a DJ, or one of the hardest questions you can ask a DJ, and that is, what's your favourite song?
Favourite song? You've got to be joking. Wow, my favourite song. If you were to ask me that question every hour for the next 50 days, I'd probably give you 2,000 different songs. Well, I'm into so many different styles of music. I'll say my favourite song for this minute is Sherry Brown, It's a Pleasure. It's a song I guess many of you won't know. It's a really smooth piece of soul. She's got a lovely voice, fantastic lyrics. So yeah, for this, right now, I'll say that. But if you ask me again in half an hour, it'll probably be something different.
Tony, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. All the best, and I hope to catch up with you in the future.
Cheers, Dan. Really appreciate speaking to you. Wish you all the success in this podcast, and I hope to speak to you again soon. Thank you.
So that was Tony Winyard there. He was giving some great advice on pricing, etc. So if you want to check out any of the things like Mark Ferrell's links, we'll try to get those in the show notes for you. Other than that, go check out Tony's website, etc. that he mentioned earlier. And that's about all we've got time for today. So, as ever, discuss everything you want to do with this podcast on social media at Online DJ HQ, or like our page on Facebook, Online DJ, or check out our website, onlinedj.co. We hope to see you next time. Other than that, see ya.